Hello and welcome back to the Second Chance to Live channel here on YouTube. I'm happy to see that you decided to stop by to watch this video presentation. Thank you. In today's video presentation, I'm going to be sharing the fourth part of an article that I wrote in May of 2008. I create video presentations on my articles because I found that individuals learn in different ways. Some individuals learn in that through reading, while other individuals learn in that watching video presentations and listening to those presentations. This is the fourth installment of the video series. I would encourage you to watch parts 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 of this article series, as each part builds upon the previous part. I'll put on my glasses and bring up the article. I want to thank you for being here. You're an important part of my process, and I always enjoy our times together. Here we are. Traumatic brain injury and the process of grieving, anger, and resentment. Hello, and welcome back to Second Chance to Live. I'm happy to see that you decided to stop by to visit with me. You're always welcome around my table. Over the past 3 days, I've been developing a series on traumatic brain injury and the process of grieving. Through my process, I discovered that I was using huge amounts of spiritual and emotional energy in ways that undermined my creative capacity to direct my passion through my gifts, talents, and abilities. In my experience, I found that I needed to grieve the losses created by my traumatic brain injury. In part 3 of this series, Traumatic Brain Injury and the Process of Grieving, the second stage in the grieving process was introduced, anger. Per my experience, as I slowly became aware of my anger, I realized that I had bought into a denial system that sought to keep me in denial through shame. Because I believed that I deserved to be shamed for not being enough, I internalized my anger. Debilitating guilt and debilitating shame convinced and contained me in denial because I believed that I was the problem and thus deserved to be shamed. Shame undermined my ability to trust. Shame sets the stage for me to become a reactor rather than an actor in life. Debilitating guilt and debilitating shame, left me feeling helpless. Debilitating guilt and debilitating shame sabotaged my ability to trust the process, loving God and myself. Debilitating guilt and debilitating shame drained my spiritual and emotional energy as I attempted to overcompensate for my unknown deficits and limitations. Through my process, I also discovered that much of my anger was buried under a mountain called debilitating guilt and debilitating shame. Consequently, I needed to address my debilitating guilt and debilitating shame. And I'd like to, in my article, I have a note. As I understand, guilt is something one experiences when they do wrong. There is a way to resolve one's guilt by making an amends. Shame, on the other hand, is a being wound that reinforces to the individual that they do not just make mistakes, but that they are a mistake. Debilitating guilt and debilitating shame reinforces that no amount of punishment or amends can take away one's guilt and shame. Debilitating shame and debilitating guilt leaves the individual feeling helpless and isolated. And in my article, I share this. An excellent book to understand and find freedom from the impact of debilitating guilt and debilitating shame is Shame and Guilt, Masters of Disguise by an author, Jane Middleton Mose. That's Middleton-Moz. This book has been instrumental in my recovery, healing process, and ability to come out of denial. This book helped me to begin to love and accept myself as an individual before I realized the impact of my traumatic brain injury and invisible disability. This book helped me to find the freedom to discover my creative self. And we'll continue with the article. When I started to experience my anger and my helplessness, I turned my anger inwards. For many years, I unknowingly allowed anger to fester in the realm of resentments. I had resentments toward various people, but the biggest resentment I had was toward myself. I was resentful toward myself because I was unable to prove to other people that I was not a mistake. Specifically, I spent huge amounts of energy chiding and berating myself for not being enough, to be able to do enough to prove that I was enough. Consequently, I spent much of my life apologizing to other people for not being enough. Through my process, I found that much of my criticism that I had toward other people stemmed from self-criticism. Moreover, the judgment and criticism that I showed toward other people was often in direct proportion to the judgment and criticism that I showed toward myself. I found that my relationship with other people mirrored the relationship I had with myself. I also determined that my resentments were in a way a cry for help. However, no one was listening. Instead, the direct opposite occurred. My judgmental attitude and criticisms of other people and myself alienated everyone and anyone who may have been willing to help. In my process, I discovered as I held onto my anger and resentments, I pushed people away from me. I also found that in the process of alienating other people, I was in effect alienating myself and the loving God. Consequently, I became my own enemy. This is the end of part 4 of the article series in video format. I'll be creating part 5 in the next day or so. I would encourage you to watch parts 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 of this video series as each part builds upon the previous part. I want to say so long for now, but before I do, let me say, God bless you and your family. Please do not give up on yourself. More will be revealed in time. The pieces of the puzzle will come together in the correct order and at the right time. I'll say so long for now. Have a great day. Bye now.